episode 21 of Art Matters with Wayne Quackenbush. I'm Wayne Quackenbush, your host. It's been about 3 months since we've had a new episode, and well, let's see, there's a couple of reasons for that. Worldwide pandemic, possibly, the studio being closed. So for now, we're going to be doing remote shoots, and today our first artist that we'll be interviewing is Victor and
Hey, what's
DaSilva Jr.
Yes, it's a mouthful.
From New Bedford, not originally maybe, or originally?
Yes, born and bred in New Bedford.
Okay, excellent.
Actually.
Excellent. And you have a gallery over there.
Yes.
The Old Mills, the Windsor Gallery.
Princeton Gallery.
Princeton.
In the historic Kilburn Mill.
Correct. And I'm glad you could make it over today, and
Thanks
we
for
can
having
talk in our nice open air studio with our air filter and our mask nearby.
Yes.
One Joey Ramone apart.
Yes.
So Victor, what would you say would be your earliest influences in becoming an artist?
Great question, Wayne. It all started above my grandparents' restaurant. My grandparents opened a restaurant in New Bedford around 1971. We ended up living there early 80s, third floor apartment. And actually, I wasn't really into art as a kid. I'm one of three brothers. My middle brother, Edson, was actually the artist of the family. And we had access to plenty of supplies. Obviously, restaurants use placemats. So there were placemats, magic markers, checkbooks, pencils, pens, whatever you could think of. So we had plenty of supplies. So supplies weren't an issue. They may not have been proper art supplies, but we had plenty of stuff at our disposal, which we could use.
So you had time, supplies, and opportunity.
Yeah, it was just a matter of being motivated, which I've always been motivated, but my brother Edson was always, I guess, he was a draftsman, you know what I mean? It flowed like water from his pencil, pen, marker, whatever, so it kind of got me to pay attention and actually give it a whack.
So did you have any formal training, or you went through the deep down process of grammar school and high school and all that good
Well,
stuff?
I went through all of that stuff, and the art teachers were pretty good, you know what I mean? The old Dartmouth side was a little laid back, but the teachers were really passionate, and they were kind of into surrealism. Mrs. Ardwin especially, Mrs. Reardon, I don't know where they are now. I'm assuming they're still teaching, but yeah, I ended up around 1997. I did an inking course through the Joe Kubert School of Cartooning in Dover, New Jersey.
The correspondence course.
Yeah, but I never finished it. And I did an art instruction schools course too. I did it for maybe 5 or 6 months. I didn't finish it, but it was just good to experience and to see what it was like for the most part. But again, I started to frequent an art store in Westport Yarns and Arts, back in the early 90s. So I got a good set of Winsor & Newton brushes.
Oh yeah, it's
proper ink.
As a cartoonist.
Yeah, and they used to, I think they still sell it, they had the nice Bainbridge board, like with the orange backing on it, but super thick.
Bristol board.
Well, it was kind of like a Bristol layer on the surface, but it actually had like a cardboardy type middle part. So it was good stuff to work on.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So we went from the restaurant phase of using those materials and doing like little comic strips or whatever, drawings, actual like fold over comic books, what have you, to actually using proper art materials around 93, 94. But that was a result of washing dishes at the restaurant or mopping the floors.
Yep.
So that's an important part of it, or that was a catalyst in my opinion.
You're very prolific. I mean, you have your work in my place in Newport, and you knocked out like 20 paintings in like a week or something, right?
Yeah, but not from a blank canvas. My working process for the past 10 or so years has involved buying bulk canvas piles from whatever art supply store is open or nearby. So what I do is I set up all of the canvases as if it were a giant like sketchbook or wire-bound pad of paper or whatever. And I actually work on a bunch of pieces at the same time. Like I might work on backgrounds for a month. They might sit for a year. And I have other backgrounds that were kind of fermenting, as it were, in my closet or at my studio proper, and I can just pull those on and start working on them. So there's always something to work on. I don't have any kind of phobia or fear of working on a blank canvas. That's not a problem for me.
Right.
But I work in layers, so I always have something to work on. There's always a pile of something to work on. Like I probably have 40 canvases waiting to be finished, as far as like 1 to 3 background layers or what have you, or the 4th layer collage layer, 5th layer black line layer, color blocking, 6th layer, whatever. But it isn't a strict kind of process that I follow. I don't need to have 10 layers per painting. On occasion, a painting could possibly be accomplished in 3 layers, who knows. I don't really know what's going to happen. My pre-planning doesn't really exist, other than I just work in an automatic kind of way, like the surrealist did,
I was going to mention that the automatic, because your stuff reminds me of automatic writing in a way, in that you put something down and then something takes hold of you, call it a muse or whatever.
And it goes somewhere else, you know what I mean? You could have splashed a bunch of background paint on, you could possibly see something in it, bring that out. Or with a collage layer, the collage could motivate you, or it could act like a kind of prompt, or the negative space between the collage pieces. You never know what's going to happen. It kind of makes it exciting.
Why don't you bring something up so that people can see what you're talking about?
See, that's a good example of like a collage layer. There are discernible layers on this. And again, the painting doesn't necessarily have to be hung a specific way.
No, the only way you can tell how it's supposed to be hung is where the wire is on the back.
Yeah, or the signature, but that's just the point of departure. But
right, exactly.
There's clear layers on this piece, you know what I mean? There's a lot of black too, which again, that's the black line layer, what have you. But for the most part, I just kind of see where the work's going to go. There isn't any kind of specific plan or strict blueprint that I'm following. I just kind of wing it, which for some artists I guess could be a problem, but for me, it's part of my working process. There's an emphasis on the process itself. I kind of revel in creating the art. The subject matter secondary. Yeah, the subject matter secondary. Inspiration comes from various sources, old Life magazine, old Esquires.
Now, are you cutting stuff up, or are you just using them as reference?
Both actually.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff gets cannibalized. It could be some kind of instruction manual for installing a ceiling fan, or a motorcycle repair manual. It really doesn't matter. It kind of hits at any time, you know what I mean? And even the time that I actually sit down to work, that varies too. I don't sit down and paint at 4 o'clock every day. It could be 10 p.m., it could be 9 a.m., who knows, you know what I mean? And any hour in between, there's no specific kind of plan. But again, that's just, I'm assuming it's my process, or it's the way that I work. I just kind of enjoy the act of, I guess, creating, but something.
Something like this, what you would start, okay, just describe it. Where would you start? Would you have like a solid color and then start putting stuff on top of it?
Usually with the background, and for some reason lately I've been working from the lighter colors to the darker colors, not for the sake of any kind of realism or specific kind of like layer building reason, just for the sake of, I don't know, I may have heard it somewhere, read it somewhere, but it varies. I could start with a darker color, who knows, or a brush stroke, or maybe I put a canvas against this canvas and something transferred and it led me in another direction, who knows.
So there's a lot of representation of stuff in there, like it's almost like a vision into maybe some kind of other dimension or other world.
Possibly, or it's kind of like staring down into, I guess, a big pot of boiling soup. And these are the different ingredients, and you can go in and scoop out what you'd like visually.
It's a cross-section of your brain.
Yeah, possibly. Or what's left of it in the social media age.
Indeed. So I mean, you're obviously
It's,
having fun with it, obviously,
yeah,
and a lot of artists approach that as a kind of therapy, like a way of getting some of the inner demons out or letting some light into your brain.
it's
That
a
kind of thing.
possibility. I'd like to perceive it as a multiple choice type of situation or scenario, whatever. As far as you had a good day, maybe you're using a little dark blue, you know, or you had a bad day, you're using a little dark blue. You had a good day, you're using a brighter orange color. You know what I mean? There's so many things that factor in, but again, there's no real compass that I'm using. It's just the contact with the materials and the process. I guess that's a motivating factor for me. It just kind of goes where it's going to go. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like a dog that's been let off the leash. Who knows? The actual process.
That goes back to surrealism and Dadaism, letting the unconscious take over and bringing it into the world. We've had multiple conversations about your interest in surrealism, and you have an affinity to the Portuguese surrealism.
Yes, yes. Mario Cesarini being the guiding light of Portuguese surrealism. He may have been born in the 20s, I'm not sure, but he passed away around 2006. But
Wow.
he was the guiding light. And Portuguese surrealism existed at the same time as French and German surrealism, as
You
far
hear
as I
about
know.
French surrealism a lot.
Yeah, the offset could have been maybe 5 to 10 years, but I'm not sure. But again, Cruzeiro Seixas, who's still alive, he's turning 99. His
my
work
God.
was definitely figurative, or
Let's keep going to work.
yeah, it was
We're
kind
getting
of
tight here with
we're
time.
running out of time. There's another piece. Oh. And again, photograph of a runner, a sheet of mail art I received through the post, and some little sketchy cards that I did at an art expo, you know what I mean? And
Well, something like this is timeless. I mean, you could see something like this from 1930, but you could also see something like this in 2020.
yeah, there's plenty to, I guess, choose from. Again, back to that multiple choice type of scenario. It definitely, you know what I mean? In some pieces, you know what I mean? It's, again, there's plenty to choose from. And some of the elements in this piece could be perceived as a little more abstract, and that's fine. There's an affinity for line in my work, but
Sure.
not for the sake of realism, just for the sake of possibly communicating some kind of visual idea, or who knows? Well,
You want your viewers to see the surface and just stay there.
and that's emphasized with the coat of polyurethane I
Yeah,
put on the
absolutely.
surface.
It becomes impenetrable.
Oh yeah. But that possibility always exists for the viewer and myself. I could set this painting aside or store it somewhere for 2 years, take it out of storage, look at it, and possibly pull something new out of it. Again, that multiple choice scenario, it definitely, for me, makes it exciting and interesting first and foremost.
Yeah.
It isn't a
And
bad
the, and
thing.
the ability to flip it around. I mean, even
Yeah,
the
yeah.
arrows are daring you to turn the thing around.
You could possibly find a visual anchor from any side, any angle, and again, yes, it's a rectangular canvas, but who knows, I could work on a circular canvas in the future, or a
Yeah,
triangular
yeah.
canvas. That possibility exists, but again, I buy canvas in bulk, so
Now, do you find yourself repeating imagery at all, or is it just free forming every time?
depending on where the imagery is coming from, if it's coming from my imagination or from a magazine, it could be a newspaper flyer, an ad for oranges on sale that I guess caused me to do or act in some kind of way, possibly.
Well, I think that we've gone as far as we can.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your coming by and sharing everything for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Great.
Welcome to the 21st episode of Art Matters. I'm Wayne Quackenbush, your host. Today we have first-time TV guest Holly Ferreira. Holly's an artist originally from Bristol, Rhode Island, yes?
I grew up there,
You grew up
but
there.
now I live in East Providence.
So you associate with East Providence more now?
Yes, especially now.
And I've known Holly for a number of years. We used to participate in all sorts of events together because Holly is a dancer and she has her own dance troupe and she does henna and you're a painter and you're a life coach. What else?
Whatever I like. I've been playing the theremin, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I love the theremin. So
That's great.
you would love the theremin. Have you played a theremin before?
I have seen a theremin in action.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in those old-timey science fiction movies,
Yeah,
and the soundtrack was always a theremin.
Yeah.
You could probably get a gig when bars open up again playing theremin for the public.
Oh my God, that would be great. So I don't know. I see things I like and I try it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, but it's still
okay,
fun.
as long as you're enjoying what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's still fun.
So there's a whole philosophy of people who basically expand their life by learning new things. And it seems like you do that quite a bit.
Yeah. I get bored really fast. Yeah. So I pick up things here and there. But I love it. I love creating new things, learning new things, making mistakes, figuring out my own way of doing it. So.
And you have said that during our current situation with people being sequestered as they are or have been, that you've had some creativity issues, but you kind of persevered.
Yeah, especially with the dancing. I've realized that with dancing, I like energy of other people.
Yes.
It's very hard for me just to be a one-sided dancer. I've never been like that.
Yeah.
I've always danced to provide people with energy.
Well, you do choreography. And it's hard to do choreography.
It is.
If you're in a room by yourself.
Right, and there's no feeling there. I have a feeling with the music, but I miss an audience where you can inspire them to feel something.
Now, did I see you were trying to do stuff with Zoom?
Yes, I couldn't stand it. I don't like Zoom. I like the Brady Bunch aspect of it, and you get to see people other than your family. Not that I don't love my family.
Yeah, of course.
They're the only ones that you see, really, besides work. And I love seeing their faces, but to teach, it's so hard to teach dance on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm sure dance is hard. I've been tempted to do some drawing classes, but haven't figured out exactly the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's
I don't want it
weird.
to end up looking like those time-lapse things that everybody does. Like,
Right.
this is how we do a drawing.
Right.
And the whole thing, 2 hours of work encapsulated into 30 seconds. Doesn't usually do it.
Yeah. And then people had a problem with hearing the music, and some didn't, and it's just forget it. I'll wait until I can be in person.
So when you're doing the dancing, do you pop up? Does the person making the most noise pop up?
Pretty much. Well, I shut them all off.
Oh,
So you can mute them.
Yeah.
Because you will hear, say if one of their dogs barks,
Yeah.
they'll pop up and you'll hear the dog bark.
No, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
I mean, it's a great tool for people who want to take classes all over the world. That's fantastic,
Yeah.
But I wasn't a fan of it.
Well,
It's
that's
a good
why
tool.
I've never been a fan of the term that's become popular, social distancing. That doesn't really make any sense at all because
Yeah.
you're not being socially distant with people.
Right.
You just have to keep the physical
Right.
distance.
And being a hugger, it's been horrible for me.
That's a whole other story. I'm well aware.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I have broken the law a few times.
Yeah.
But
You just gotta inhale, and hold your breath.
I can't not hug people. Can't. But you kicked my butt into gear with painting. So
Because-
painting and creating is different because you don't really need an audience. You just need
Right, exactly.
that time to
That
do
kind
it.
of art is a solitary art, and you can be as public as you want. I mean, I have ever had art events where people are in the same room and they're all working on their own thing.
Yeah.
That has a lot of energy I wouldn't really compare it to dance, but it's
But it's
kind
the
of,
kind of it's the same
it's almost
thing.
like being in a band because you're feeding off the other person's energy,
Right,
even if
absolutely.
everybody's doing their own thing.
Right.
But because of the synergy of the energy in the room,
Yeah.
it changes what comes out.
Right, and I love that. I
Yeah,
thrive
absolutely.
off of that stuff.
Yes.
You know, to me,
Yes.
that's where the magic is. So if you
Yes.
don't have that, it's kind of like,
Well,
you know.
you can take this as a chance to kind of regroup and prioritize. That's the way I see it. So when I start having events in the places where I'm at, I can pick and choose how I want it to go. I can be much more thoughtful.
right,
I hate the term mindful, but we would want to apply that too.
right, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So you
So-
kicked my butt into painting.
Right,
'Cause
because
I had a goal.
I saw that months ago, strangely enough, we started painting clowns. And you know that I have a reputation, it's probably deserved, of liking clowns a lot. And so I kind of liked what you did or have done, and I thought it would be a good idea for you to just kind of freak out Newport by showing stuff in my place.
Well, thank you, thank you. I'm always up for that. You know, I like pushing the envelope.
So every painting has a story, and
Pretty much. I wanted to stick with vintage clowns because I
Right.
love horror, as you know.
yeah,
So my husband was like, "Why don't you do Twisty? Why don't you do this one? Do Art the Clown," which I love Art the Clown.
I don't like Twisty.
don't like
Those movies
Twisty?
are so gross.
I know,
They're
you
so
don't like
disgusting. Anyway,
Have you seen the new, the remake of Suspiria?
I love that.
Isn't it fantastic?
Yeah, I was prepared to hate it. I've watched
No,
it literally three
so,
times.
I know, I love it. I just
Yeah.
watched it the other night.
Yeah, I make people sit down and watch it with me because as many times as I've seen it, it just,
It's amazing, right?
yeah, but you can't understand it. It's so dense, you can't figure out what's
And you
going
see
on.
something different every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you like the whole dance aspect
Oh,
of it.
of course,
What
yeah.
I liked about it is the fact that it's solid proof that art can change life. I mean, and it's also a good example on how sympathetic magic works. But we digress.
Yeah.
So show us some paintings.
Okay.
Or talk about Bozo.
All right. So Bozo. So the thing with clowns, I was terrified of clowns when I was young, and my daughter is terrified of clowns. She can't stand them.
Yeah, that's a definitely post 1970s thing.
Well, because we always heard, watch out for the van. We always had this fear of a van.
Yeah, but that
with
didn't exist when I
clowns
was
in
a kid. Clowns were delightful. There was nothing scary about
Right,
clowns.
right.
You use clowns to advertise breakfast cereal. You go to the circus and see clowns. Clowns were funny and warm, and this has been my theory, obviously, that people are afraid of clowns because they're unpredictable, and if life is unpredictable these days, people get very upset.
Yeah. And then It came out.
Yeah, the book, we won't even talk about that, and then the movie, and then the Killer Clowns from Outer Space that has traumatized a generation of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. But they're also loved, like at all the horror conventions. There's
And-
always a group that's dressed up like them, and people love it.
Yes,
Love
they
it.
love to be scared by them, but you don't see. I'm sure the clowns that entertain at birthday parties have been having a hard time with it
Yeah,
these
Sure.
years.
Right. But I love vintage clown looks.
Yes.
I love
Now this guy I grew up with,
them.
he was a franchise, I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
There were many Bozos.
Yeah, many different ones. But I figured for a happy one,
Yeah.
you know, he was the perfect, and I love the hair. And all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just colorful.
And you know, he's not afraid to show off his pattern baldness
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
and emphasize it. I always
Yeah.
wondered if he was inspired by Larry Fine of the Three Stooges.
Yeah, maybe so. So that was Bozo. I just wanted a happy one in there because I like dark, creepy stuff too.
Absolutely.
So he's one of the creepiest ones around that I did.
Yeah, you have to tell me who he is.
Well, he came about because I was having a really bad day, and
Uh-huh.
my friend came over and she's like, "Let's just paint and have wine and stuff." So as we're talking, I'm painting him and she's painting her thing, and that's what came out.
Oh, nice.
So his name is Oof because we're both like Oof.
Like OOF?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my intern Michael's favorite expression.
Oof. Right. That's what we said when I looked at him. I was like, oof, my God. Yeah,
He's got the Farrah Fawcett Majors teeth.
Yeah, but he's kind of creepy.
I've always been a big fan of those really big and sometimes not professionally done circus posters. You know, like the Come See the Lobster Boy or the Apes Girl, and their posters are huge, like as big as this ball, like 4 times the size of Bozo here.
Yeah, I love all that stuff.
That was one of my major inspirations for me to start painting again.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was.
That's
I
awesome.
wanted to do big paintings for my windows, and realized that big paintings not only take a lot of time, but they take a lot of paint. So that's when I started giving over the window to other artists.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's great.
So what else you got?
So this one was the last one that I did of the series. So it's not creepy or anything like that.
Well, the fact that he doesn't have any eyes makes him a little creepy.
I don't find him creepy, but yeah, he would look good under a black light.
Because of the paint, because this is obviously fluorescent.
Yeah.
The white would stand out too.
I don't pay attention to
Just have a
rules or
black
anything.
light around somewhere.
I do have a black light. Yeah. I don't pay attention to rules or anything like that. Like, I don't use a color wheel or anything like that. I just like weird colors together. So, and he's sad, obviously.
Yeah, but he
Very
looks.
sad.
They all have a consistency of looking vintage.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I like him because he's kind of blacked out and smoky looking. And this one I think was the first one I did.
That's probably the one I saw.
Yeah.
You gotta come down.
He's got like broken teeth, bad teeth. And he's happy but creepy at the same time.
He looks pensive, like he's planning something not good.
Right, right. I'm sorry, I'm bringing up like sad.
No, it's good. the green and the purple, that's a good combination.
I love green and purple.
Because
I use those a lot.
kind of, they pop. They're almost complementary.
Yeah, I love green and purple, orange and purple.
Oh yes.
So this I've had at 1 year of it.
The very famous Cosnomi.
Yeah. He's clown-esque,
Yeah.
but not really. He's amazing. I love him
Well,
so
he
much.
kind of harkens back to like 1930 Theremin you played.
Right. Yeah, right. And I loved him because he like went against a lot of things. People didn't know what they were looking at when they watched him, which is great.
There was no frame of reference when he was around.
Right.
And he just did what he did.
Right.
And he caught on with the right people, and the right people remember him now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's really cool.
So we're down to our last few seconds here, so
Okay,
let's get one more.
here we go. So again, you know, I love freak shows and whatnot. I find them beautiful.
Yes.
Anything that doesn't look like me, I find beautiful. Anything that's different, I find beautiful. So I love Siamese twins. And to hate anything. So.
Does this one have a title?
No, just the twins.
All right.
And then this
I
is
think
the sisters, and that's it.
We're about done, so
Done?
let's get that up here.
Okay, quick.
Maybe we can mention it and then we can re-edit it.
I just want to thank you, Holly, for showing up.
Thank you for having me.
And,
Thank you.
Have some great success with your art.
So I hope Newport likes the twins.
I think so.
We'll see.
And that about wraps it up for another episode of Art Matters.
Thank you.